What up, Gooners? Close those browser tabs and wipe down those anime figurines because your mom's starting to ask some questions about the smell coming out of your room. You guys are listening to Super Despair World, the only podcast that knows the contents of your bookmarks folder. I'm still sick as a dog, but you know what? We have the kind of audience that goes crazy for a woman who can bark, so the show must go on. Did you guys know that there are hot, sexy podcasters in your area who only want one thing? Dave, tell them what that is.
Well, you want to get on the Super Despair World Patreon. And if you like barking, well, get your collar on and your dog food bowl filled with kibble, because ooh, that's a good goddamn Patreon. Get the fuck in there. You can join it for free, and if you want to donate a sinister $6 to the Super Despair World Patreon, that will keep Briar just flush with dog collars and the science diet that we all know that she needs. And yeah, like, I mean, it's a great place to be. And then also you get bonus episodes too, and we're about to drop one in a moment. We're recording before we drop the next one, but we have it all queued up. It's going to be a great one. Oh, wow. It will be up by the time that you get on there when you listen to this, and it's going to be great. And also we have a fucking Discord. Like, can you imagine having a Discord right now? It's a very novel idea with podcasters and content creators in general, but we have one. It's great. The greatest people in the world are there, and you can get in there and, you know, talk to us and talk to other great and cool viewers. You can suggest episodes. We got a little Discord Q&A channel. We just did one of those episodes for episode 29. It was an absolute slam banger. The reviews they're going crazy. Everybody loves it. It's the best episode in the world. It's better than any other podcast ever to have been made in the history of the universe, and you could be a part of it. Just hop the fuck in. What are you waiting for? Just go. Stop thinking about it. Just do it.
Yeah, the answer I was actually looking for was immediate cultural revolution against the people of Los Angeles, but all those things are pretty cool too.
Yeah, well, I support that as well. But yeah, I'm
Patreon
still working
today,
on my
cultural revolution. Soon, maybe.
Yeah.
We're working up to it. You have to build up to those things.
Exactly. I'm still working on my manifesto, but you know, I've been sidetracked by playing Balatro, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I actually haven't played Balatro in like 3 weeks now, so.
Yeah, no, gaming takes up a lot of time, and I say that because we're mere days away from the new FF14 expansion, which is going to just like consume my life for like the next 2 weeks or so.
The quality of the podcast is going to just drop off precipitously.
Yeah, well, all right, guys, don't worry. I promise no matter what, we're not going to do fucking like let's play episodes of us like playing video games or whatever. Maybe bonus streams, but not. We're a little better than that. We can put on a real show. We have actual things to talk about, like pornography. Today we're talking a lot about pornography. This is the big 3-0, episode number 30, and this is a topic that's like we've really been edging this one out. We've kind of been building up to talking about this throughout like a lot of other
been teasing it for a while, for hours. We've really days. We've really been stroking our shit to this. We got lotion on our dick for real, and now we're finally
we're
freaks. We're freaks.
Yeah, this is the only podcast that eats ass and sucks toes or whatever you kids are into nowadays.
Number 30. Number 30.
The last thing you expect in your podcast is a joke about eating ass and sucking toes, but as it turns out, that might be what you get.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
Nothing really gets our listeners in the mood to talk about sex and pornography than the sweet, sweet sounds of chills.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like ASMR, but for the demographic that we're about to talk about in a moment. Which is
today we're talking about the problems faced by the goon and henchman community throughout the world. No, I'm just kidding. Man, we need to start off with a little word about, man, the thing about gooners is like they really kind of ruined a perfectly good word for like expendable evildoer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and apparently this is also a term that that applies to the fans of some sort of like football club.
I think it's football clubs in general. I've seen pictures of like English football hooligans at like a stadium or whatever, all shirtless, and they have letters painted on their chest. They're like "Go Gooners" or something like that.
No, I think there's one football club in general. I forget what it is. It's somewhere in fucking England. It doesn't matter. If you're a big football head, like that sucks. But but
I know nothing about sports, so I have no horse in this race.
Yeah, is it Arsenal fans? I don't know. Like whatever. It doesn't matter. But we're talking about a different kind of gooner. We're talking about the gooner, the coolest and most interesting form of gooner. And what is a gooner to you, Briar?
Man, this covers like so many different things, because I feel like on the internet, and I guess in culture broadly, people are just kind of weird about like anything sexual related, right? Like if you express any kind of like sexual thought or something openly, people will be like, "Oh, you're such a pervert. You're such a degenerate gooner or whatever." And it's like, okay, I think a lot of people are a little too quick, a little too trigger happy with their labels for different people. But the thing about like proper gooners, and like I think they're kind of like pervasive in like culture in a lot of ways nowadays. But it's like it's kind of like a kink that's all about like the glorification or whatever of like addictive behavior. It's about like, oh, like you're addicted to porn and you're giving into the addiction and you're just becoming like a big stupid gooner for porn or whatever. And I thought, well, maybe before we can get into this, what do you think a gooner is?
Well, okay, so a gooner to me is I think like I think gooner goes. It's not just having a porn addiction, right? Like it's the person who has a porn addiction, but it's like how do they express it? Well, they sit in their goon cave, which is some sort of room that they exist in or have access to, which is usually just has wall to wall pornography, whether it's like printed out shit stuck to the walls. They have multiple monitors with like 4 different porn videos playing. They have toys, fleshlights, whatever going on. And then on top of that, they don't just like go in there, have a session, and then just you know, go about their day. It's like this is a fucking experience for them. This is like the IMAX cinema experience of porn addiction. They're there for hours, just going through their collection,
just stroking their shit.
Just
they got lotion on their dick.
They got lotion on their dick. They stroking they shit. They're doing all this type of stuff.
It's kind of like I hear sometimes gamers will talk about their like really expensive like gaming PC setup and refer to it as like a battle station.
Yes, it's the jerk off battle station. That's exactly what it is. And that's the thing is like we're gonna jump over to our favorite place on the fucking internet, Reddit, for a second, and there is a subreddit called r/goon caves. And
I actually,
so
I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I actually have some bad news. I just found out that the Goon Cave subreddit was shut down like a few weeks ago.
No.
Yeah,
really?
but we can talk about it anyway. But it was pretty bad if you saw it. In
Why
its
why was it shut down? Because of wokeness?
Maybe the woke liberal left doesn't want you to stroke your shit.
I mean, all right. r/Goon Caves was shut down during Pride Month. Coincidence?
I think
I
not.
don't think so either. It's
There's a whole other conversation about like queer people and like hypersexualization, which I'd really rather just not get into today.
Yeah, that's oh man, I didn't know that. This is God.
Yeah, unfortunately, like while we were preparing the episode for today, I was looking it up and I was like devastated to find out that it got shut down.
This is like
it's still like
9/11 for Gooners. It's like
it's truly awful.
Yeah.
Although I've seen and I don't want to sound like I'm a little too knowledgeable on these things. It's more like we've planned to do this episode for a very long time.
We're just doing research, folks. We're just doing research.
It's for research.
Mom, I'm just researching the podcast episode. It's a real job. Okay? Shut up. Leave me alone. Close the door.
The patrons want to know, okay?
Close the door, Mom.
Yeah, no, but for real, there have been a bunch of like goon related subreddits or whatever that have got shut down, and some of them have come back. Although all the ones that are like active at the moment that I know of are just like, oh yeah, it's just people posting porn. There's not really like any interesting discussion or like inter-Gooner community communiques or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I wonder why that got shut down though. Is it just like somebody?
I know
people
are
posting sussy shit, or
it could be. I know in the past there was another really big one that got shut down temporarily because there were like no moderators on it, and Reddit will just like shut down a subreddit if there's like no moderation.
Yeah,
and it's like a certain size.
Yeah.
But still, either way, you were gonna get into what a goon cave is for our listeners.
Yeah. So Goon Cave. Imagine this: multiple monitors, all playing different videos of porn on each one. They got fucking porn magazines open. They got posters of porn. They got printouts everywhere. It's just a.
They have the Catholic Bible for some reason.
Yeah, they have the Catholic Bible
No,
for
I'm
some
just
reason.
kidding.
Yeah, what's going on with that? Yeah, they're reading they're reading Genesis for some crazy reason. And yeah, it's
they're watching Abby Shapiro pretend to pull like Walmart strawberries out of her garden or something.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the monitors has some like cottagecore shit on it for whatever reason. That's totally not erotic. But it's just the most input that you can have of all of these things, like all of these sexy erotic things. And then
you could describe it as like maximalist almost, right? Like this is the opposite of minimalism. It's just the most like excessive, like indulgent, like this person spent a lot of money to basically make their house like unlivable for guests to come over or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And I've even seen ones on there which are really funny, which is like there's like I have my mobile gooning rig, which is like it's like a breakout bag which has like a laptop with like multiple hard drives of porn, and then like multiple like porn magazines and printouts. It's like if I ever have to travel for work, I can just say, you know, kind of post up in the hotel with my fucking goon arsenal and you know, go to town for 4 hours at a time. And like,
Your Honor, this is actually my emotional support 5 terabyte hard drive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's not even just like that they have all of the stimulus at all the times. It's also that they do these like multi-hour fucking jerk off sessions. Like that's like a goon sesh. That's like an actual goon sesh. Is they're just like they're exploring this archive of porn for like hours and hours on end, and it's like I mean, okay, cool.
Yeah,
like,
so we kind of defined like the whole Gooner kink. I guess you can call it a kink in some ways, as being about like the glorification of like over consuming porn or whatever. But there's a lot of like other like lower level parts that are like very common in it as well. And like I think they call this edging, right? It's like when you watch porn and you're like, you know, you're stroking your dick, you got lotion on your dick right now, and you're like you're going at it for a very long time, but like you don't let yourself come or whatever.
Right.
And it's like I mean, I understand there are a lot of people who are like into that for like non-Gooner related reasons, but I think it plays into this element of like being overindulgent, just like consuming porn to a crazy amount, because like obviously I guess if you finish up, you know, you're probably not going to be in the mood to watch porn for a good couple hours at least. But I guess the whole thing about like, oh, we're just gonna watch porn for multiple hours on end, I guess it's kind of a necessity, right?
Well, so this is the thing, and like, obviously this is not the same, but I mean, biologically these systems work differently, so it's going to express itself in a different way. But it kind of parallels for me like binging and purging, for people with eating disorders, where like you eat an incredible amount of food and then you throw it all up, which is horrifying, and that's bad, and you shouldn't do that.
Don't do that.
Yes, don't do that. Don't do that. But they do
Somebody
that. Somebody
watching our podcast right now is going to be like, oh my God,
wait,
I never thought. That's, oh God,
wait,
what have I done?
Okay, thanks for telling me, guys. But it all functions so that you can continue on this like self-destructive kind of like indulgent and you know, like what's the word, like you know, when you're hedonistic tendency. So yeah, edging is the same way, because you can't come and then like put the cum back inside of you or whatever. And then
well,
just go.
Some people would say otherwise, but I don't actually know the name for that.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody's tried it, but yeah, like, but that's the thing, is they want to keep this urge and the possibility of this urge like going for as long as possible. So I mean, it almost seems noble in a sense of like delayed gratification, and I think to a certain extent that can be cool, but it's like, no, dude, if you're jerking off for like 4 hours, you got that's a bit much. Yeah, that's a bit much. You gotta.
I think a lot about, you know, as somebody who like records my voice talking about things on the internet, I think often about like, how much do I want to share about my personal life and like intimate details to make a point or something?
Right.
And I think I'm gonna try to be a little diplomatic here. I'm gonna try to be a little understated or whatever. I'm not gonna pretend, you know, I don't watch porn or something. It's a thing I occasionally enjoy, but I will say, like, if I'm ever sitting there like looking at porn or something, and I haven't like sorted my shit out after like 20 minutes or like the first like 3 or 4 pages of Pornhub or something, I get these thoughts of like, is something wrong with me? Am I like depressed right now? Is like something going on that's like preventing me from like being fucking normal about this? And then I just go do something else instead.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I understand like the whole delayed gratification thing. I'm not going to pretend I really understand edging. Like, I guess I get it in concept. Not really my sort of deal, but I'm like, are you guys really enjoying this? I don't know. It seems to me like it would be both like physically and maybe even like emotionally kind of just like exhausting on some level if you make this like a regular part of your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It too is like, I mean, it's like, Yeah, it just seems kind of like I don't want to say a waste of time, because that just kind of seems like it's just like, you do anything pleasurable? Well,
you could be building value for your brand right now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's the thing, but it's just like, why not just like get it over with and then go do something else? Like in like, maybe is that part of the thing? They don't really have any other hobbies or sources of enjoyment, like.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like weird elements to it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they would just have an easier time getting off if they bought one of those like shitty dildos from like our boy Noah Samson or something. Hey guys, it's me, Noah Samson here. Just wanted to say a word about. Get out of here, Noah.
Yeah,
not today.
Yeah, we already saw you last week, and we're tired of your bullshit. Get out of here.
Yeah, guys, sub to the Patreon if you want to hear our wonderful guest episode with Noah Samson, who
we had
definitely appeared on the show.
Noah and Noah.
Yeah, we got
LLC.
multiple instances of Noah at the same time. Just like Gooners enjoy multiple instances of their own fucking terrible content.
Yeah. Like there might be a Gooner out there that has 4 screens with 4 different Noah Samson videos playing at the same time, and they're just like, oh man, I'm really absolving my white guilt right now.
Yeah, I don't know. That's. Oh, I feel a little sick to my stomach after just like mentally visualizing that. Let's maybe bring things back down to earth a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
I just pulled up, to my knowledge, I think this is the biggest Gooner subreddit on reddit.com. It's called r/gooned, GOONED. It has 1,432,000 readers.
Jesus Christ.
And at the time of having it open right in front of me at the moment, there are 117 other people besides myself.
Damn, they really do be gooning out there.
Yeah, so like in the process of doing some research for this episode, a long time coming, no pun intended. I found that like we talked about how edging is a big part of the kink, but I've noticed some other interesting trends that, like, I don't know, they just kind of perplex me, and I feel like we can talk a little bit about like what's going on, what makes these guys tick. And I don't know how much you know about this, but I've noticed a few other things that Gooners seem to be really into. And one of them is like kind of like a force femme, like sissification, that kind of bullshit. They seem to be like really weird about trans people for some reason. I see a lot of the like GIF folders they post on here or whatever. It's like, it's a lot of trans girls like stroking their shit, lotion on their dick, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so this is something that that is like pretty well known about porn addicts, is like, you know, they start out with, you know, just like the regular front page of Pornhub shit, like woman gets fucked and dude comes, like, and then it's just like you watch enough of that and it's just like, cool, well, I'm looking for the next thing. So then they get into like, oh, fucking Asians, or like, oh, fucking big thick girls, or like, okay, then it's like fucking muscle mommies or whatever. And then it turns into like
Abby Shapiro shows you how to churn butter for an hour.
but yeah, that's apparently like a thing that happens with like porn addicts, is they end up going down the road of things that that they see as fetishes, which they might not even like be that into. But like, and obviously I'm not saying like trans women are to be fetishized, but like in their minds, for these people who have like, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say like, the average Gooner doesn't really touch grass that much. They probably don't know any people, let alone like queer people or people with alternative lifestyles or like interesting people.
That or they're like a white collar, like I work in like IT or something and I make 6 figures a year so I can afford my like Gooning battle station.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I
So I
mean?
can afford my like 7 widescreen monitors to do that shit. And basically what it's all coming down to is I think they like fetishize trans women, and it's just like they've reached the end of the road as far as like fetishism comes, because like, let's be real, if you're jerking off for like 4 or 5 hours a day every day, you've probably been doing this for a while. You're probably pretty experienced in this realm.
You could say that the brain craves novelty on some level, you know.
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like that's pretty novel to a lot of people. Most average, just regular ass people have never met like a hot trans woman before, and to them it's just like this is something new. That's cool. That's
that, or like I could definitely see it being as like some guys who might just like naturally discover that they're into like cross-dressing or some shit, because I guess, I don't know, like not to get into the whole like hypersexualization in the queer community discussion or whatever, but like you go on 4chan on the LGBT board or whatever, or TT as some people call it, and they have this thing about like, oh, some trans women are just like AGP, they're just like autogynephiles, they like imagining themselves as women and they get off to that. And obviously all of this is like completely bunk pseudoscience. Don't take anybody seriously who uses these terms unironically,
right?
But
right.
You know, at the same time, like you would think, oh, okay, the whole like Gooner community, it's a lot of like, you would assume like probably like cis straight guys or whatever, but
yes,
I don't know,
yeah.
maybe in the process of like going down all these porn rabbit holes, they just discover some shit that like, hey, perfectly fine or whatever to be into if you're into like cross-dressing or some shit, and you're not necessarily like a trans or queer person, whatever. You do you, but it's like I don't know where I'm going with this. I guess yeah, I think the broader point that I was going to transition into was just like,
transition.
Yeah, with the what? No. Hey, it's still Pride Month. This is the big finale of Pride Month. So we're gonna yeah. What was I even saying? Yeah, the point I was shifting into was that when we talk about like gooning as a kink related to being about like addiction and like being addicted to porn or whatever, like, yeah, you're gonna see a lot of overlap with other forms of addiction about like, yeah, you need to seek out like ever increasing sources of your fix to like to get satisfied, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And there's another interesting aspect of these like these like Gooner posters. The oh god, fucking rip goon caves, man. I'm pouring out a 40 all over my carpeted room right now, just in remembrance.
Yeah, society has
great,
never been more porn phobic than it is right now.
Shit, it just makes me so fucking upset. But
that moment when someone says something so pornophobic that you hit them with the true Gooner stare.
Hit him with the Gooner stare. This is a guy's been jerking off for like 11 hours. He's just like,
yeah, his shit just looks like it looks like a pack of raw jerky at this point, you know. Hey, jerky. Pew,
hey,
pew, pew, pew.
yo. Yeah, but so there's another thing I noticed with these like Gooner poster fucking places is like a lot of these dudes they have a homie. They have a fellow Gooner in their goon caves, and it's like me and the buddy just doing a Friday night goon sesh, and it's just
you
like
joke, but they do actually call them their goon buds.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's just like completely normal to them. Which like, I mean, if you invite your friend over to fucking rub one out together. Like, fucking rock on, man. I love that for you. That's cool. But it's just like, I guarantee these dudes are just like, yeah, I'm a perfectly straight, perfectly normal guy. It's just like, it's just something I do with the boys, you know? We just every Friday night, we just have a little goon sesh, and then we just
Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna say I can't like completely, you know, like I think I kind of get it on some level. Like it obviously never got to that point for me, but I remember being in like middle school or some shit, and I had the Xbox game Dead or Alive, the fighting game, not the beach volleyball one.
That's a great game though.
It was all right as far as fighting games of that era goes. It was all right. And I just remember, like, yeah, there were a few times where I just invited some of the guys over and we just like played Dead or Alive in complete silence for like 3 hours. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Okay, not to derail the goon conversation, but as a quick aside for why I think Dead or Alive was a good game. It normalized with fighting games at that time, combo breakers being simple. Because like before that, fighting games, they would have combo breakers, but it would be like an 11 button sequence that only like the most elite fucking fighting game player could put in. And in Dead or Alive was like hit 2 buttons at the same time. Boop, combo broke.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, yeah, they were kind of ahead of the curve with that, because like I know Street Fighter 6 came out a while ago, and a lot of people are praising. They have a whole like simplified control mode for entering like complex combos or whatever. It's just 1 or 2 buttons now, and I haven't put too many hours in, but hey, a lot of people seem to like it when Street Fighter does it. So I don't know, maybe that's just society being a little pornophobic because Dead or Alive was a little too sexy for them.
Exactly. And that's where it all comes back to, is like it's basically Biden's America is too pornophobic. And now they made woke games that are, I don't even know where I'm going with
yeah,
this.
well, I mean, when I was in middle school playing Dead or Alive with my homies, you know, this was the George Bush era, and you know, people elected him to the presidency because he sold himself as being, you know, just the guy you could like have a goon sesh. He's just a guy that I feel like I could have a goon sesh with. A lot of people don't know this, but George W. Bush, the W stands for whacking your shit.
Yeah,
stroking your dick, lotion on your dick
that's
right now.
actually that's actually true, and a lot of people don't know that. But yeah, that's confirmed. That's confirmed. That's the Wikipedia will try to tell you some fake news about that, but yeah. Yeah, he even said that on the Ellen show.
Hey guys, so. Noah Sampson here. If you enjoyed porn more during the Bush era, you can use discount code stroking my shit to get 10% off on one of my dildos. It's me, Noah Sampson. Buy my dildos. I'm so sorry, guys. Listen to the last Patreon episode.
Yeah, it'll all come into context for that.
It'll come full circle.
Hey,
hey, pew, pew.
Hey. Yeah, what if we did a Patreon tier where it's just like we just have a group goon sesh?
Yeah, you can just sit in silence with us in like a Discord voice channel while we watch some videos.
Yeah, like 11 videos. Yeah.
For what's the right price? Never mind. All right, where were we even going with? We got like hella derailed.
Well, we were talking about goon buds.
Goon buds, right? Yeah. So like, yeah, some gooners are like, we like to joke about like the stereotype of like the neat, like the weirdo, the guy not in employment or training or education or whatever, who's just like a weird, like antisocial person, never goes outside, never touches grass. But the thing about like some of the people on the Gooner subreddits, as I found out, is they can actually be like weirdly social about it. A lot of them have their own like fucking meetup channels or whatever, where they'll, I guess, go out into the real world and meet up other Gooners to have their own thing going on. And I guess maybe to start off a little discussion on this, do we think that's like, is that better than just doing it alone by yourself, or is that like a weird like escalation into something a little more dicey?
I mean that's a like that's I think it really depends on like how that works, where it's like it's like, if this is like cool, this is like some sort of like kind of like kink that I have, and I want to meet other people with this kink, and then like once in a while when we have time, we meet up and like do this kink together. I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
Like I'm certainly not gonna give anybody shit if one of their hobbies just happens to be like having casual sex with other people.
Sure.
As long as like you're all adults, everybody's like a consenting party.
Right.
Do whatever you want. It's none of my business.
Yeah, I don't think that's any different than like having orgies on the weekend or swinging or like whatever you're into. Like that kind of shit.
Or being into like Super Smash Bros. Tournaments or something.
Well, that's
yeah, that's true. I did say everybody has to be an adult, so that precludes a lot of Smash.
Yeah, and you should all shower beforehand too, so that precludes everybody in there.
One of my favorite shit posts I've ever seen was something about like Smash Bros. Players not getting the most important quarter circle input of their life, and it was somebody like pulling on the shower knob,
Yeah, I saw that. One. That's brilliant.
That really just destroys your life bar right there.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, well, so the thing which I think which takes gooning from a fun little kink, something that you're into, to probably like a problematic lifestyle weird thing, is like when you're doing it every single day and you're dedicating like 4 or 5 hours to like just like sitting in this like pleasure maxing chamber watching like 11 different fucking porn videos and edging your shit the entire time. It's just like, cool, man. Like I get it. Like watching porn is fun. That's cool. Busting a nut. That's something that's a good time. But it's just like, man, that's a lot of hours of your life. Like, are you sure? Are you sure you wanna?
Dave, are you telling me that the problem with this addiction kink might be that some people take it a little too far and get a little too invested in it?
Hey. But that's what I was gonna say is like, with this, it's seen as like so ridiculous, and it is like stroking your shit for 5 hours is fucking crazy, because
it needs to be said. There's just like a comical kind of absurd kind of quality to it. Like, you look on any like goon related subreddit, if you go onto pornhub.com and you look up like Gooner material, it's all these like videos full of like flashing lights and spinning spirals like 100 fucking little quick cuts. It's like, here's a compilation of like 5,000 porn videos all laid out in tiles so you can watch like 50 different like cum shots at the same time. It's like, okay, like we can all point out and say like, this is kind of goofy, right? This is just goofy.
Yeah, and it totally is. And this goes along with I think what you were talking about earlier, is like a lot of that shit too. It goes along with this like sissy hypno, like brainwashing, like you're gonna love black dick now after you watch this video, and it's just like,
yeah. But I mean like a lot of hypno stuff is like the conceit is like, oh yeah, this is an excuse for it to just be horny as fuck. Like, oh, I can't control myself. Oh no, I just gotta stroke my shit. I gotta put lotion on my dick.
Oh no, now I just like now I just love like big black dicks, because they juxtapose that with like a hot chick with big titties the whole They
No,
really
I totally
tricked me.
didn't want to be the girl in the video. I just happened to buy all this lingerie. Blah, blah, blah. I can't help it. Oh, the porn. Oh, it got
That's
me.
crazy. Yeah, they really fucking bamboozled me. The old switcherino. They did
Yeah,
that shit.
they're coming for your. They're gonna get you. Which way, Western man? I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing with all this shit too is like, well, I mean, it's no worse than just being like, you know, like a video game addict or somebody, like somebody who plays fucking League of Legends for like 11 hours a day. People will be like, that's not good. Don't do that.
Yeah, and with the League player, their hands are just as dirty. So.
Yeah. Exactly. But then when you put like porn and sexuality into it, then it's just another layer of like, well, this is something to completely and utterly ridicule and not understand, which fair. I mean, I'm not saying like gooning is like some thing that we should like acknowledge as like, well, it's the problematic discourse around gooning. Like, yeah, dude, like jerking off for 5 hours a day is
these young
great.
boys. They just want to watch normal porn, but there isn't any normal porn left, so they have to watch the AGP Gigahan stroke her shit, put lotion on her dick, and
I've watched
Sorry.
every trans jerk off video on Pornhub, and I'll tell you that this is unacceptable. And there's something in there that makes every cis heterosexual blue warm-blooded white male horny, because it made me horny, and it just made me really upset.
young men, they can't go onto Pornhub anymore. Now it's only Pronoun Hub, and they have to stroke their shit to the trans women.
They have to. Every time I get on there, I'm assaulted with trans porn to the point that I have to masturbate to completion every time.
I have to open the Giga compilation number 47, the Cock Hero edition, where you stroke your shit to the electronic music, and it's loud music, and I don't like it. It reminds me of my youth and how people did not like. I don't. Where are we going with this?
Well, they're clearly brainwashing you to just want cock. Like that's it. That's
Yeah, I mean, you joke, but there are people who do like unironically believe that. And I guess I don't know. Like I've seen a lot of people be weird about it. Like I know I think it was like a few years ago, Pornhub updated their category so they don't use the word she-male anymore, and now they just have like a transgender section category or whatever, which like, hey, good, I guess. But I don't know, the whole like porn industry is also just like really weird in a lot of ways. We've talked about this in past episodes. I think it was during the cuck psychology episode where we talked about how like, yeah, a lot of the whole like interracial porn just plays into a lot of like really weird like racist mentalities or whatever. It's kind of like disgusting and unwatchable.
Exactly. That gets into a lot of race play shit, and like I'm not that I've ever gone on these websites before. I'm a Christian, but like the trans stuff too, it like a lot of it kind of devolves into this like mysterious woman with cock is like seducing somebody, and like I don't know, it's probably not as bad as it used to be, where it was just like, you know, like they pull down a chick's pants and she has a dick and it's like, what? Say
well,
what?
I mean, yeah, we live in Biden's America now, and he commanded Pornhub to start being woke, so that's why we're seeing these changes, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, porn is like kind of always been the same, where it's kind of just like, I mean, it's rooted in the dark heart of man, in the primordial lizard brain, just like make those neurons fire. With the time we got left, I think I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, and I thought we'd maybe talk a little bit about like, why is this like such a thing at the moment? And I kind of wanted to talk about like,
to me, it kind of feels like porn feels like kind of ever present in a lot of like society and popular culture now in a lot of ways. And like, don't get me wrong, in some other ways, it also feels like media is like incredibly like sexless and like sterile nowadays. Like you look at like fucking like Marvel movies or some weird shit like that. And I feel like a lot of things these days, they just kind of feel like porn. And like, what do I mean by something feeling like porn? And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean things are like extremely like sexualized nowadays, although like in a lot of ways they kind of are. But for me, the thing about porn is like it kind of feels like it's very like explicitly like manufactured to tap into some like addictive kind of like reward center generating part of your brain to really like get at something and really get you hooked in there. And like, what do I mean by that? So like when we make jokes about like, oh yeah, Gooners are gonna go off and watch like a fucking compilation number 47, watch like 500 cum shots at the same time, that sounds like ridiculous and excessive, but like I don't think that's a whole lot different, like psychologically speaking, than when like the average person opens fucking TikTok on their phone and like swipes through like 500 videos in like an hour or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or on top of that, like they swipe through TikTok and it's like Reddit stories with an AI voice, and it's Minecraft parkour with like with Subway Surfers. I mean, this is like a classic meme, but like the Subway Surfers on top, and like the Family Guy funniest
Family Guy
clips.
moments.
Yeah, like on the bottom, it's the same shit, and that's just like fucking TikTok, scrolling, whatever. But like when you put, because we are still mired in this like in this culture of like sexual things, or like partially something to be ashamed of, it's partially funny, it's partially like degenerate, like all of these things together. So like, yeah, so you take that type of like just absolute just bottom barrel, like just pleasure seeking mindless bullshit, and then you put sexuality on top of it, and then it just goes, they turn the dial up to fucking 11 on that shit.
Yeah, and like obviously, you know, it's excessive. It's not good for you, if you ask me. I think, you know, all things in moderation and all that, as corny as that can sound. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like if you really press me, if I tried to do the whatever utilitarian calculus, weighing the scales, whatever, I don't know if it's like that much better or worse than like, you know, when you go onto TikTok, a lot of those videos, yeah, they're just like, oh, this is the funny thing, or like, oh, look at this like crazy video, it's like 10 seconds long or some shit. And like a lot of those things are like still like trying to manipulate you or like move your thoughts in like maybe like a political direction, right? Like you joked about all those like AI voice reads a Reddit story or whatever, but sometimes when I'm going through like YouTube Shorts or something, and by the way, never do that, YouTube Shorts is like utterly dog shit.
It's the same as TikTok. If you use YouTube Shorts or fucking Instagram Reels and you're like, I'm not on TikTok, that's for babies, it's the same exact shit. It's the same exact shit. Just stop doing all of those. Let's get rid of that fucking short form bullshit altogether.
It's sick, it's manipulative, I hate it. But the point that I was getting at was, not only like a lot of those like AI voice reads a Reddit story are kind of innocuous, but then I read a lot of them where the AI voice will tell a story about like, I'm just like a white cashier at a gas station, and oh, these black thugs like aren't like stormed my gas station and robbed me, and they were like, you have to surrender the crypto coins, white boy, or we're gonna do something. I don't know. It's like, and it's just like, wow, this feels like propaganda. This feels like somebody has an agenda and they're trying to get me to think about these things in like, I don't know, a more racist way or some shit. And it's like, okay, yeah, we can talk endlessly about like how bad like overconsumption of porn and like extreme kinks and needing to get off to like more and more hardcore material is, but like at the end of the day that's just like, I don't know, whatever you need to do to nut. It's different than like this short form content that's like manufactured to tap into the reward center of your brain while also like really skewing your worldview towards like some insidious usually like far right end or something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, like, the thing with all of this is it's like it's creatively bankrupt at the end of the day, and it's really just it exists for one reason and for one reason only: to get eyes on it, and like ultimately to make money. Like that's really it, right? Like I don't know, like maybe with the like weird like subversive political shit, it might not even be that. It might just be like some shit like funded by the fucking Koch brothers, or there's just some deranged some deranged right wing fucking nut job that's just like, what if I put Wojaks in this animation? Then they'll all understand that Tyrone is really coming for you. But like,
I mean, you say that about Wojaks, but again, I feel like a lot of the people who like endlessly consume like YouTube videos about like they made Star Wars woke. Oh, the soy feminist Wojak is like destroying your hobbies or whatever. A lot of that is, again, it feels pornographic in the sense that this is just like cheap, shitty content made to like exploit the fucking primitive monkey brain inside your head and get you mad and emotional and worked up about something, you know, by watching it endlessly every day, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, if since we're talking about TikTok, it's like there's been a lot of shit on there that is not explicitly sexual, but it's the same. It tickles the same fancy, which is especially sinister considering that the average TikTok user is like a fucking child. And it's like if you fire up a fresh TikTok account, a lot of that is going to be like 17-year-old girls like booty popping and lip syncing to a fucking Rihanna song or whatever fucking awesome and epic and incredibly entertaining for entertainment's sake trend that's going on there. But like also like remember that like AI streamer shit that was popular on there, the fucking ice cream so good. Yeah.
The NPC stream.
Yes,
well, those weren't really AI. Those were real people performing.
Yeah. That's what I meant. The NPC one, where it's like apparently that came out that was like a weird fetish that like a bunch of people have, is like kind of like being able to like manipulate a human to do what they want, and that's why those popped off so hard, is because there was like a bunch of I mean it's just like a fucking like an online game or a gacha game or something like that, where it's like these things come into prominence not because of the average person that's just like, oh, I'll check this out, oh yeah, it's cool, okay, I'll throw 5. No, their success is predicated on the whales that are really into this shit, and they just love dumping their entire fucking paycheck into whatever the fuck is going on here. So like, so that I mean, that's like shit. Like to me, that's like that's more sinister than like actual porn shit, because like at least like porn, you fucking seek it out, but it's just like there are a lot of people who are just like, oh, I'm social, everybody's on TikTok, I'm gonna check this out, and then they just like end up getting wrapped up in this like incredibly fucking weird and vicious cycle of fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I actually have two good examples of that. Have you ever seen those videos where it's like, are you familiar with the subreddit? It's called r/stupid food. You ever watch Stupid Food?
No, I don't. I don't think I have.
Okay, so stupid food, it's like a subreddit where it's like I went to a restaurant and they served like Cheerios on top of steak or some stupid shit like
okay.
that.
All right.
It's pretty
So
funny.
like, yeah.
But some of the most common content on there are these like Facebook videos where it's like, oh, this white woman is making a wacky meal, and it's like, oh yeah, she gets like a whole tray. It's like, I'm dumping in like 4 buckets of chili and cheese and like more shredded cheese and just like 3 whole sticks of butter, and it's like, oh yeah, like obviously this looks stupid as fuck, but it came out that like, yeah, the guy behind that is like making like fetish content. He's like like a stage magician or some shit that does like marketing stuff on Facebook, and it's like a messy fetish. It's about like making a mess, and it's like, oh, this stupid blonde woman.
Now I poured chocolate milk all over this. So good.
And like there's always a guy behind the camera who's like, what are
my
you
husband
doing with that
my
food?
husband loves it.
I don't know
so
about
good.
that. Yeah. And it's like, it's both like a messy tactile thing of like, oh, watching this woman like get this like substance all over her hands and make a mess or whatever, and also like, oh, she's being like stupid and childlike, and this like protective figure, like this big strong man, is just watching like, oh, women be stupid like that.
Yeah, there's so many layers to that shit. And I mean I didn't actually think about the fetish content, but that totally makes sense. I kind of thought it was always just like rage bait, where it was I
mean, that's an element of it too. Obviously.
Yeah. And like you said, it's just like there's always a man just like, what are you doing, wife?
Yeah, and then at the end he's like, can't wait to take a bite, and then they like never actually eat the food, you know, that was cut out at the end because it's disgusting, it's slop.
Yeah. They're not eating that, but like, that's a whole nother layer to that I haven't even thought about, but it totally makes sense. Like, the other example I've had of that, and this is gonna get much darker. This is much less funny, but a few nights ago I was working on the artwork for the last episode that went up, which a lot of people praised me for. So hey, thank you guys. Cool. Yeah,
tried something different.
Honestly, Hall of Fame. That was a fucking banger. I love that one.
I felt good about that one because before that I did not really draw anything for like 2 weeks prior, and like I always feel like shit, like I feel like I just don't know how to do it anymore after I take a break like that because I was like sick or whatever. But hey, thank you guys. But the story I was about to tell was I was working on that art. It was like pretty late. It was somewhere around like midnight to 3 a.m. and I ran out of like decent stuff to watch as background noise on YouTube, so I got into some of those like really kind of like sloppy channels. You ever see these YouTube channels that are like, these are the darkest corners of the internet, 4 disturbing stories from 4chan, oh, people go missing on this subreddit, blah blah blah, all this like spooky shit that feels kind of like sloppy or whatever.
Number 14.
Kind of like that. I mean, look, not a lot of people do the like listicle thing like chills anymore, but it's still very much the same sort of content. Yeah. And this video I was watching, it was something about like the most like fucked up disturbing predator on TikTok or something like that. It was talking about this like weird like middle-aged British guy who tried to start up like one of those like internet challenges, you know, about the like, oh, record yourself eating a spicy cinnamon pepper or some shit like that. And this guy was trying to get people to record videos about like, oh, you should kids, you should tell your parents, hey, I want to take a shower with my clothes on or something like that. And it's like, okay, this guy's like a fucking disgusting pedophile or whatever. And like, unfortunately, a lot of parents did do this internet challenge thing, like
my
recording.
God, dude, CPS, all of you take your children away. 2 things. At the very fucking least, you need to go to media literacy camp, social media literacy camp, and like a training course, and but probably like you're just not you're just not fit to have children. Just like,
yeah,
fuck you. Fuck you.
it's just really fucked up. I mean, maybe on some level I could be like, okay, maybe this parent isn't very online and didn't know better, but in general, I feel like this was only like a couple years ago, right? So even in the like late 2010s, I want to say, like, I don't know, if you're a parent, I think you should have the good sense to maybe just not fucking put any like photos or videos of your kids on the internet, because people are going to be disgusting about it.
This is a full like fucking hard send from me. Children should not be recorded and put on the internet like without like multiple, like I'm even uncomfortable with like Hollywood child actors, because we all know how that fucking turns out. But like I at the same time, I understand how there is a need for like children to be in certain fucking movies and TV shows. There needs to be like a lot of regulations and fail safes.
Well, it's really fucked up in the case of that in particular, because when you see like child actors in like Hollywood movies or something, you know, as much as I fucking hate Los Angeles and Hollywood in general, it's like a big old union town, and there's a lot of like regulations and laws and stuff about like meant to like protect
and they're all
the money
ignored.
And rights.
And they're all ignored. Well,
the
ones to protect the kids are ignored. That's what I was saying.
Some of those laws and regulations do their job. It's not great overall. It's not good. But the thing is, as we move into like the era of like YouTube and TikTok and shit, there are no regulations, no laws whatsoever about like having your kids on the internet, and like you have all these like disgusting fucked up like family vlog channels that basically get like 24/7 labor out of their kids, making them perform their entire lives on camera.
That's fucking jail. Just jail time for all of these people. Like, take these kids out of there. Like, that's fucking reprehensible. Fuck you.
We're gonna do an episode on those people. There are so many stories, and it's like these people are just like fucked up. I honestly think I don't know. I'm gonna start Fed posting about it. But
yes, we might need to actually put the siren sense.
We're gonna need our boy Murat to like hold us back, like physically.
Murat's the only level-headed guy out there.
We need to bask in his light and radiance to avoid giving into the darkness and letting loose on these people. But I guess to bring it back to the broader topic of gooning, I was saying, okay, why is this so prevalent? Why is this becoming a thing nowadays? And I guess like when you look at like pop culture and media and stuff nowadays, I feel like everything is so like manufactured to have that like porn like quality of like rewarding excess and indulgence and whatever, that's like, it doesn't surprise me that the response some people are gonna have to all this like crazy like over hyper stimulation in like every other aspect of their lives, they're gonna just be like, okay, I guess I am just gonna give in and like reward my addictive qualities and consume this stuff to crazy degrees, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like how we've normalized this, like, I binged 47 episodes of The Office. Haha. Does anybody else binge watch on Netflix? He. Yeah, I do too. And it's like, yeah, you spent fucking 7 hours watching a TV show. It's like, I'm not saying I haven't done that before. Like, this is not like a moral grandstanding thing. Like, it's just like, why are we doing this? Like, why? What? Do we not have anything better to do? I guess is the question. Even the, like, I mean, if you're like married and have kids, or you have like responsibilities or something, like even beyond that, like, it's why are we doing this like really low level, just kind of like base shit for so many hours in a row in a day, and especially on a regular schedule?
Yeah, well, I mean, it feels kind of trite to say it, but it feels like the obvious answer is because people stand to profit and make money off of this shit, you know?
Right.
Like, I could talk endlessly about like gacha games or whatever, and I'm not gonna waste a lot of time this episode like defending or like condemning it. It's a whole other thing, but like I look at these games and like, yeah, every time you log into like fucking like Genshin Impact or some shit and it's like, oh, I'm gonna pull for a new character, and like you click the button and it's like, oh, you see your like little magical gem swirl on the screen and it explodes into a bunch of colors and it's all this like dramatic musical build up, and then it's like, oh, you got another like +2 sword or some shit that nobody wants, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, everybody skips the animations at some point, but again, going earlier than that, like a couple years ago, in the Discord the other day, we were talking about like Overwatch and shit, and about like, oh yeah, when Overwatch did loot boxes or whatever, it's like you click on the little loot box and oh, it shakes and it starts to glow, and then the lid pops open and you get a new like Witch Mercy skin or some shit like that. And it feels like it seems like a lot of really little things, but it's like we just like, it feels like fucking everything nowadays is like so packed to the brim with all this little stuff that's meant to like manipulate your senses and your emotions and your just like in your fucking brain. It's meant to like hack your brain open and like make you consume this stuff to a degree that you otherwise wouldn't. I mean, this is basically like the entire fucking field of marketing, right? It's using the modern discoveries of psychology to like exploit you into spending money and doing behaviors that you otherwise wouldn't, so somebody can make a buck off of it. And like frankly, it's all kind of disgusting to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different. It's a different avenue of, you know, selling cigarettes to kids and slot machines at the casino and all this type of shit. And I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say I'm immune to this shit, but like the difference is,
well, nobody's immune to this shit.
They're not.
It's important to put out there. So
of course, the difference is when I'm on a vicious dopamine cycle. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know that I'm in the throes of just like my fucking monkey brain is taking over. And luckily I have enough sense to kind of just like knock that shit off after a while. But like a lot of people don't, and especially young people don't. Like they're even more ruled by their fucking id than we are. And
also that's not entirely their fault, both because they're young, but also, again, not to sound like too old person pilled or whatever, but you know, Dave and I, we're both in our 30s. This stuff, all this like marketing, like psych hack whatever bullshit, it was a lot less sophisticated going back even like 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, however long. So like, yeah, this is one of those ways in which, this shit is significantly worse nowadays than it was like just like one generation ago.
And they keep evolving because like this is, at the end of the day, like the new frontier of just getting money is just like getting kids and getting younger people just addicted to bullshit, because like it's predatory. It's a predatory industry at the end of the day. Like what else can you do? I mean, all of these industries are running out of shit. Like it's an endless cycle of like finding new markets, finding new ways to make income, and it's just like
like everything is on the internet nowadays, but like basically 100% of the population is fucking online nowadays, or like 99% of people, right? So you're not gonna get significant boosts to any service anymore. Like there was an era when like Facebook was first starting out where it was like just college students, but then it branched out to like people in like high school or whatever, and then everybody's parents and old people and whatever got on there. And now like Facebook kind of hit its peak, but like even though Facebook is on the decline or whatever, like everybody is on some form of social media nowadays, basically, right? So it's like, there's not a significant portion of the population left that's not tapped into this stuff. So they have to run like double time and to get like more out of the people that they already have on these services.
Exactly. So it's just yeah, it's a never-ending cycle of fucking bullshit, and we're all along for the ride. So yeah, like what,
and and speaking of being along for the ride, I think this is a good maybe final leg of the conversation to kind of wrap up towards. Like, we've talked a lot about how, like, it seems like this stuff is basically like ever present in like every aspect of society. So like I don't really blame people for like giving into the addiction, being like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll just be a big stupid gooner or whatever. But I think a lot of people kind of recognize this problem, and I see a lot of like misguided, in my opinion, responses to it, because a lot of people, especially on the far right and whatever, will look at this stuff and be like, well, this is what you get when the Jews run your society and they wanna exploit your primitive monkey desires or whatever. And like a lot of people will propose like a solution to all this stuff is to just go like fucking like alpha sigma grind set mode. You must deprive yourself of all personal pleasure and luxury and live like an ascetic monk and like preserve your vital essences or whatever bullshit like that. And like maybe we can like talk a bit about that, because like I think that's just like an equally unhealthy response to all this stuff in like the opposite direction.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's an overcorrection, and it's people see. I think there's a specific thing within all of those people, is they see this vulnerability within themselves to be this kind of like monkey brain, like just as all humans are, we are ultimately pleasure seekers. Some of us more than others, but I mean, there are a reason that all of these like reward systems are set up in our brain, is like so you could do stuff which is good
and also,
for you.
And also I do think it is important and healthy, in my opinion, to like recognize your own inner capacity for like darkness, right? Like to give into your bad tendencies or whatever form those might take. You should be aware that everybody has the potential to do that, but you can still avoid it without like overcorrecting and going like completely insane. Like, I'm gonna be like a celibate monk that never comes ever again.
Yeah, well, like from what I understand about like addiction therapy, is like the first step is to like before anything is to recognize like, okay, this is something that I'm like addicted to. This is kind of like becoming a problem. And then after that, you can kind of like say like, well, how am I going to deal with this? What's my relationship to this? Why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. But like, that's the first thing. And it's like, I think these people like, they see these tendencies inside themselves, and they don't even really acknowledge them. They're just like, this is degenerate. How could anybody do this when you could be making money at the company and like working out? Because that's what I do, and waking up at 4 a.m. eating raw eggshells, punching myself in the dick 7 times. I take a cold shower, inject fucking HGH in my fucking ball sack, and like and then I just day trade all day. And I'm like, what did you do? Masturbate? Fucking loser. That's why you fail in life. And it's like, all of these people, they desperately want to just like, they desperately want to do all these things if they're not already doing them.
Yeah, I actually have two good examples of this. And one thing I've heard from a lot of like sex workers, especially like dommy mommy, like dominatrix type women who run like sex dungeons or whatever, they'll be very open about this. I've heard from many people. They say something like, yeah, a lot of my most like submissive bottom ass type clients are like wealthy guys in these
Yep.
white collar
Yep.
jobs who
Yep.
otherwise have like really like powerful, stressful positions or whatever, and they just want to, you know, get pegged in the ass or something on weekends or whatever. I'm like, that's interesting. And like going back to what we talked about earlier this episode with like a lot of guys who are into the Gooner stuff and being really weird about like trans women or like cross-dressing or stuff like that, or like, you know, like, oh, just sucking my buddy's dick for fun, haha, we're just such a bunch of weird pathetic Gooners, blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, okay, I feel like maybe within these people there is some kind of like gay or bisexual tendency, but they don't know how to like explore that in a healthy way. So it's like, oh, I really want to see what it's like to suck a dick, but the only way I can experience that is through this lens of like shame and like kink performance, and oh no, it's just a joke, oh, it's just a goon culture thing, oh, it's not real, I'm not actually gay or whatever. It's like, you don't have to do all this. You don't have to perform in this way. You can just be normal about this stuff and like, you know, explore it in a healthy, non like indulgent, addiction rewarding type way.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Is like that's how internalized the shame within these people are for that type of shit. Is like, they'd rather identify as a dude who jerks off for 17 hours a day than just be like, yeah, I like dick. I like,
yeah, that, or like I think going back to when we did the episode on the cuck people, it's like, yeah, maybe a lot of these people are just like kind of curious. They want to explore something about like threesomes or like non-monogamy or whatever, but like they feel weird about it, so they have to do it through this lens of like shame and being like put down and exploited by your loving partner or something. I'm like, you guys don't need to do this, okay? You can just be normal about it. You know, you can explore whatever you're into without this like this performance of like having to put yourself down and feel bad about it. You don't have to feel bad. Nobody cares, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes back to the thing that I always talk about is people's obsession with fucking identities and shit. And it's like, you don't need to be a gooner. You don't need to be a cuck. You don't need to do any of this shit. It's just like, something sparks your interest. Fucking try it out. Try it out with consenting adults. Like, see what, like, you don't need to like join this club and make this everything about yourself. You are more than your fucking fetishes. You're more than what you jerk off to. You're more than like your fucking hobbies. You're more than all of these things that people just have to like jump in and like and just like make their entire fucking MO in life. Like, life is it's varied. There's a lot of shit going on in here. You could do a lot of cool stuff. Like, you don't need to do all this. Just be fucking chill. Like,
yeah. And I'll say this on like the note of identities and whatever. And it's like, yeah, you need to be careful about like, I'm not going to pretend that like labels and terms or whatever don't have any value whatsoever, right? Because like when I was like a teenager or whatever, the whole trans people were very much not really in the public eye, not really in the news yet. Obviously, you know, trans people have been around for like decades and centuries and whatever, a very long time. But like, this was when I was in high school and like a kid or whatever. This was very much before it was like a culture war talking point. Like, when I was that age, it was very much more about like the gays and like same-sex marriage and that kind of stuff. So I think, you know, when I was that age, I didn't really have any conception of what it meant to be like a trans person. I didn't really know the term transgender or whatever. I was aware that it was like, oh yeah, they're like transsexuals or like a bunch of, you know, like slurs that I don't feel like saying this episode or whatever. Like, I was vaguely aware it existed, but I didn't really have like a label or like a term to put onto that experience. So it just didn't really cross my mind until like, you know, my early 20s or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is a thing people can be. I'm going to think about that and do some other things. Right. You know, some other things. Lot to unpack there. But yeah, so like, if you
I'm going to buy 4
like,
more monitors.
Yeah,
no reason.
No. See, when I was younger, I've been using the same monitor for 10 years. I don't do the multiple monitor thing. I just have one really big one.
Okay. Yeah. Hey.
So it works. Pew 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 pew. Noah Samson here. Buy a dildo. Anyway, where was I going with this? Yeah. So I think when we talk about identities, yeah, if you have like a term or a label to describe an experience, and you think, oh yeah, this describes me. This is what I'm into. I'm gonna learn more about myself and explore that. Good for you, awesome. I'm gonna support you. Call yourself whatever you want. But at the same time, a lot of people, like when it comes to the identity thing, they kind of really take it too far, right? Like at some point, we're gonna definitely do an episode about like the trans LGBT culture on like 4chan or whatever, and their obsession with these outdated terms like AGP or like HS. Yes, I don't even know the other one. I touch too much grass. I don't have that type of brain rot. But yeah, a lot of people like will look at themselves through an identity of like, oh yeah, I have to experience this thing that I want to explore through shame, or I have to be like addicted to this thing, or like even in like a more positive sense, well, I'm part of this community, so I have to do so and blah 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 and all these other things. Right. And it's like, you don't need to do that. You can just be your own person, and you should be very, I don't know, I think you should be very mindful of willingly like putting yourself into a box, especially when it's something, you know, kind of out there, like the whole like Gooner thing, or like other like extreme kinks, especially those based in like shame or feeling bad about yourself in some way.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree with what you say. And I want to elaborate and say, like, my hatred on identities, I do, at the end of the day, I do understand like the utility of them, especially when you're talking about like, you know, gay and queer and trans people and stuff like that. Like this is a thing, like it's a framework to kind of say like, this is who I am. And then like my whole thing is like, I really want to move past all that shit. Unfortunately, with a lot of this shit, we can't, because there's way too many people who are just like obsessed with, you know, whatever fucking dumbass frameworks that we've had since like the fucking 17th century. Like, get the fuck over it, idiots. But yeah, like on that note too, it's just like, what makes me uncomfortable is like when people are just like, they find some sort of identity that they're tangentially interested in, and it's just like, oh, this identity that I've suddenly put in my Twitter bio, they do this, they believe this, and they do this, so I'm going to automatically just subscribe to all this shit. And it's like, yeah, like maybe don't do that.
This is a bit of a tangent, but it's a really good video, so I want to give it a plug. A little bit of background. So many years ago on Tumblr.com of all things, Dave, have you ever heard the term Mogai? It's an abbreviation, MOGAI.
Oh, that sounds really familiar. What is that?
That stands for marginalized orientations, gender alignments, and intersex. And this was one of Tumblr's attempts at like, hey, we want a more inclusive label than LGBTQ or whatever, so we're gonna try this. And the video I was going to reference was a video essay from Lily Alexander, posted 3 years ago. It has 1 million views. It's a great video. It's called "Millions of Dead Genders: A Mogai Retrospective." And in that video, she talks about the whole Mogai thing that was on Tumblr for a while. And one of the things they did with the Mogai or whatever, they had like a wiki page for it. And like all of this, again, this was entirely done by like middle school, high school students on Tumblr, whatever. So I'm not gonna give people shit young people shit for what this or whatever. But a lot of these users, they created like a wiki for genders, right? And it was like, oh, you can submit any gender you want, and a lot of people would submit pages for like, oh, there's like star gender and tree gender and deer gender and flower gender and like a million different things. And like, yeah, the intention was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just make a little thing for this identity that somebody might find useful or whatever. And the whole thing, like in the videos about how this whole thing just kind of like fell apart, because as it turns out, like, yeah, the vast majority of people do not identify with like these extremely like niche, like esoteric, like one-off things. Like you have a whole wiki page for a gender that might have like a single person that identifies with that, or like maybe no people at all. Maybe like some like 8th grader just came up with star gender. Maybe somebody wants to be star gender or something. It's like, yeah, I understand the good intentions there, but it's like, okay, this seems to me like the most benign way that the whole like obsession with identities can play out, which is like it just kind of ends up being pointless. Like when I look at like
exactly.
Just the last thing I'll say, just like when I look at what terms stick around and end up being useful, it's just like some things just pass the test of time. Some terms are useful, like obviously like trans people, fucking non-binary people. These terms are useful. They apply to a lot of people. It's useful. Like when I say non-binary, most of like our listeners at least have an idea of what I'm talking about, right? But you know, when we say something like mogai, M-O-G-A-I, like nobody who isn't like extremely online on Tumblr like 10 years ago knows what the fuck that is, right? So
yeah,
that's just where I was going with this.
Yeah, no, I get that. And that, like when you do shit like that, then it all becomes kind of meaningless in the end. Which like, yeah, as you said, it's pretty benign, but it's also like you're not really doing anything here, guys. I mean,
yeah, this is the best way it can play out, where it ends up being kind of useful, as opposed to like other identities, like the whole cuck thing. We spent like a whole episode talking about this, about like maybe identifying as this thing is like, maybe it's gonna end up hurting you and yourself and your partners potentially in other ways. Maybe, I don't know, you can explore these feelings and thoughts you have in a way that doesn't box you into this like identity that's about like seeing yourself through a negative light or something like that.
Right,
you know?
right. And it's the same with Gooners, to bring it all back to the original point, is just like you don't, I feel like some of the problems with these identities, that they're like self-reinforcing, is just like, okay, maybe I like to edge, maybe I like to watch 2 different porns at the same time, and then it's just like, oh, well, I that makes me a gooner, and like gooners do this, so now they edge for this long, and they get they download porn all day, and like as a gooner I gotta do all this shit, and it's like, okay, like maybe your consumption of porn was like problematic before, but now you're thinking like, oh, this is who I am and this is my identity, and that's what we do, so like now I'm going to take this to the extreme. It's like, it's kind of normalized in a sense. And like,
yeah, this actually played out a little bit in my own life, not as a gooner thing, but there were a few years in like my 20s where I was basically living kind of like a neat, not in education, employment, or training lifestyle. And it's like, okay, I was technically enrolled in college, but I was attending like 1 class a week, and I didn't go every week or whatever. So I was like, man, I'm kind of doing the neat thing. And you know, in a lot of that time when my depression got really bad, I had these days where I was like, well, I'm already kind of a neat, so like, well, may as well just like wallow in my own sadness and not try to get something better out of myself, because I'm already at this low point or whatever. And I suspect it's probably like that for a lot of these people too, where they're like, well, I'm already on the 10th page of Pornhub, so maybe I should just look into this Gooner thing and just like give up on my social relationships or whatever. It's like, you don't need to do that. It's not too late, guys. You can always turn things around. There's always hope for even people in the darkest pits of their life.
Yeah, exactly. It's not too late. It's not Jover, and in fact it might just be Barack. You can do it.
Yeah, it just might be. And I guess maybe to wrap up, because we talked about like the response to this, I think we can look at how in a lot of ways society does kind of reward people in some ways, or like or like encourages people to like give in to their addictive tendencies, or like over consume or get really indulgent with all this stuff meant to just like hack your brain or whatever. And we just talked about how it's not good to base your personal identity off of that stuff, but again, at the same time, the correct response to that is not to overcorrect in the other direction and now make your identity about like, I am the based, celibate, red-pilled Giga Chad who never comes and will never watch anything pornographic at all except the Abby Shapiro churning butter videos or whatever. It's like that's not the way either. You don't need to go down either of these dark paths. There's a third way. You can just be normal about these things and like enjoy what you like in moderation, not be weird. Don't wallow in your own shame and feelings of like disgust at yourself. Just explore things in a healthy way, talk to other people about it. Just take care of yourselves, guys. It's that easy.
It's that easy. Cultivate a healthy relationship with the things that you love. Don't overindulge, because that cheapens the loveliness of these things.
It's hard to hold back, but if you do hold back, the things you like and find novel will stay novel, okay?
Yeah, exactly. And that also applies to the old hub. So, keep it down to a once
5
a day
pages
session.
or less, guys. If you don't find anything on those first 5 pages, you're not horny enough. Come back later.
True. That's what I'm saying. If you need to, if you got like a 17 word search phrase to find what you're into, maybe you need to just like I'm even gonna go a step further. People will be like, "Oh, it's weird and disgusting if you like bookmark or save porn on your computer or whatever." If you are indecisive about porn and you just want to have like, okay, here's like a folder of like 8 videos that I can always go back to, fucking do it. More power to you. I don't care. I don't even think that's weird or whatever. If anything, I think in today's it might be better.
It's
like all reliable.
In today's like busy grind set times, maybe this is just the most time efficient way for you to go about your porn routine.
Yeah, in the busy world of Richard Scary, you got to just have 8 LimeWire AVIs that you keep going back to for FAP material. I think that's I think that's valid. I think
the alternative is making your own little Richard pretty scary by jerking it raw for like 10 hours a day.
All right, no joke is gonna top that one. We got
we just peaked. That was the podcast equivalent of coming. We're done now. We can wrap up.
Yeah, we've been gooning for an hour and a half now. Now it's time to towel ourselves off in shame.
Yeah, it's time to close the tabs and just look down at ourselves in disgust and put our pants back on. All right,
that was good.
Let's give a little shout out to our favorite Gooners on the planet, which is our patrons.
Yeah, fucking If you want to not look at yourself in shame, join the list of people that are about to be shouted out imminently.
This is the only identity that matters, being a Super Despair World patron.
True. Being a Sinister 6 giver, that's pretty much your only way into heaven. As I talked to a bunch of priests and like religious figures across the board, and they pretty much agreed that if you have ever sinned, or erred in your life, this is your only way to absolution, and that's to donate.
Yeah,
I've
I've heard this from rabbis, from imams, from shamans all over the world. The weird like crystal girls on TikTok or whatever who are into the witch stuff.
Yeah, they all agree.
All of them agree that this is the only way to lead a good and moral life. It's to give us a sinister $6 on Patreon.com.
Right. Yeah, it's unanimous. And these are the people who will be in the kingdom of heaven, with or without you. I mean, make it which way, Western man. But all right, so we got we got Shalom Guy, Protagon, Nick, Trash Bins, Clam, Walker, Weasel, Nilly, Dimbus, Heresy, Trevor Stilson, Braid Zero, T, FNL 47, and Knackles, the fucking tightest squad that anyone could ever ask for. I mean, if I die and go to heaven and these are the only people here, even if it just happens tomorrow, I'm fine with it, honestly. Like that's
some people would say that heaven is a place on earth. Well, you know, it's also on the internet at discord.gg/ whatever our link to our server is right now.
It's a bunch of letters and numbers, but you can find it in the episode description.
Eventually we'll have enough people boosting the Discord to get our own special URL, but not today. And you know what, guys? If the all-consuming light and bliss of the eternal afterlife is not enough for you, consider joining the Patreon just to get some sweet bonus episodes like the last one we put out with a very big special guest of ours who we really like and enjoy and had a great time talking to. All 2 or 3 instances of him at the same time.
He chimed in every once in a while, but it was a real slam banger every single time. So check that.
I've already bought 7 dildos from him.
All right, let's wrap this bitch up.
Yeah, let's get cleaned up. Let's take the shower. Let's wash away the sins. Thanks so much for listening, guys. And yeah, I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you had a great Pride Month. In fact, you probably had a better Pride Month than me because I was sick as shit and still am a little bit. And I know Dave was moving. And also, hey, we didn't mention it last episode, but your birthday was soon. So, hey, wish a happy birthday to Dave in the comments.
Yeah, my birthday was on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. So, yes. Wish me a happy birthday. And the greatest gift you can give of all is, again, a sinister $6. And you can buy yourself into the kingdom of heaven at the same time. You can't lose.
Never stop the grind. Never stop giving us money. Never stop tuning into the show. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, never commit suicide. Keep it 55th Street, and good fight, good night.